So last week, Mr. Powell said policy is restrictive, and a lot of people in the market think he should cut immediately because obviously those in the market with a lot of debt would prefer to have lower rates. But the fact is, monetary policy isn't restrictive. Mr. Powell obviously doesn't speak to his colleagues at the Chicago Fed, which reported last week that liquidity conditions in the United States alone are at the best levels in 2 years. So I think that's kind of a false narrative that gets a lot of play out there, but it's really mainly because of people who have assets that they are funding and need lower interest rates to protect their assets. So when you print money, money supply, and when there's fiscal spending, deficit spending, and when national debt is at $34 trillion, the government effectively is leveraging the economy. So what that means is that you've got structural and systemic inflationary pressure. And when the government is spending money in the broad economy, as they are doing, that means they are competing for resources against the private sector. So if people can get higher paying jobs with the government, plus full benefits and pensions, then the private sector has to bid up their prices, and wage inflation is growing at the fastest clip since the 70s. And inflation doesn't go up unless you have wage inflation, and wage inflation is driving the broader economy prices high in every sector of the economy. And what's interesting is that consumers, there's really sort of two groups of consumers. One group is the people that have investments, they own assets, they have houses, they have stocks and bonds. And they also don't have any debt. So if you're a consumer that's got assets that are inflating, right, you can get 5.4% by just owning a T-bill with no risk. That's pretty good. Housing prices are at record highs across the country. So they've got assets there that they can borrow against if they have to. And the fact is they don't have to borrow any money. So if they've got savings, and I heard that the total value, in fact I didn't hear it, I know it, the total value of private wealth in this country is $160 trillion. $160 trillion. GDP is only 28, right? So that's a lot of dry powder for doing things. And you see, when you drive around, you fly down to Miami and you look at these cruise ships and whatnot, airport's packed, every plane is packed, the cruise ships are packed, the restaurants are packed, the hotels are packed, and it takes you 7 minutes to get an Uber because they're busy. So at places where people want to go for experiences, Formula One races, soccer matches, Taylor Swift concerts, there's no shortage of buyers for high-end sports and entertainment and cruises and travel. And I think that that's probably a better signal about the economy than the broad averages that you see. Below that, people are in trouble. Credit card debt is up about 2% from the pandemic lows, which isn't too bad, except it's a big number. I don't think it's a problem. I think that if the credit card debit balance issue is a problem, you would see the stocks of MasterCard, Visa, and American Express being hit. But the funny thing is, those stocks are at the all-time highs. So the perceived pressure that you read about for all the people that want rates to be cut, the fact is that the system, the financial system, doesn't see the stress. And that's a truthful, analytical observation that doesn't get sent across the airwaves on most TV channels. Okay?